Let's move on to example 2 here, which is using a for loop. So the basic for loop declaration is shown in the following example. We're going to create a file, and we're going to name it forexample.sh. We're going to add the following script to it. So here the for loop is going to iterate 10 times. It's going to print all values of the variable counter, which is this variable here, and it's going to do it in a single line. Okay, let's head to our virtual box. So I'm going to use the text editor vim again. I'm going to do for_example.sh. So now I'm in my editor, I hit I for insert mode. We always start with our hash pling, which is hashtag or # exclamation point bin / bash. Guys, we can also do Korn shell, Z shell, fish shell here, okay? But we're going to use the bash shell because that's the most common. We're going to say for, so we always start for loops with the word for. And in this case, we're going to use a unique type of for loop where we use 3 expressions, okay? So we're going to start with the double parentheses. We're going to do counter variable equals 10, okay? We're going to use semicolon, counter greater than 0, okay? We're going to do semicolon again, and we're going to do counter minus minus. So we saw in the previous example how ++ adds to the variable and increments it by 1. Oops, I need to get rid of that space. In this case, it's going to subtract it by 1, okay? We're going to close out that double parentheses, okay? And then we're going to do do, and notice, again, do lines up with the for, all right? And now we're going to put all the commands, and it's going to be indented. Echo -n, quotation mark, and then variable counter. Remember, variables always have the $ in front of them. That's how we know we're a variable. Okay, we put a little space here because we want spaces in between each of these variables. And then we do done. That's how we close out a for loop, all right? So while is closed out with a done, for is closed out with done, and if is closed out with a fi, okay? And then we're going to do one more thing. We're going to say print f quotation mark \n quotation mark, all right? So this is an escape character or end of line character, so we're just deleting those end of lines there, okay? Or we're printing the end of lines there, and we're going to see what that looks like here in a second. All right? So we're saying for variable, or we're saying for the counter variable is equal to 10, and while is greater than 0, we're going to subtract 1 from it each time, okay? So we're saying equal to 10, it has to be greater than 0, and we're subtract 1 from it each time. So once it isn't greater than 0, then it's going to finish. Okay, so let's see what happens here. So we're going to escape, right quit. We have to make it executable. So chmod all plus executable for_example.sh, and we're going to run it. So bash for_example. So we're executing our script here, and there you go. So you see it prints it each time. And then once it got to the 0 part of it, right, it has to be greater than 0. So when it got to that, it stopped, right? Because 0 is not greater than 0. So it stopped there. And it printed it in a single line, which is what that \n was, right? That is the new line phrase. Alright, I'm going to show you a couple other ways that we can use the for loop, okay, which are a little bit more common. Typically, this is how for is going to be used. You're going to do for I in this case we use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do echo well, which is I, times. So what would happen here is it go welcome 1 time, welcome 2 times, welcome 3 times, welcome 4 times, welcome 5 times, and then it would stop. So this I is being used as a variable, and it runs through whatever you put here and places it in here, and done, okay? Same thing going on here, except we're using the sequence command. Now keep in mind, guys, this is deprecated. What deprecated means is that it's not used anymore, it's old. It's It's an old version of, or old way of doing something. So I wouldn't do it this anymore. This does the same thing as this, right? It does 1, 2, 20, okay? So use this version instead, but just be aware that you may see this, and this is what it does, okay? It's the same thing as up here, except it does welcome 1 time, 2 times, 20 times. Okay? And same thing down here. Actually, yeah, this is the exact same thing up here, okay? Guys, typically what's going to happen is, so how I would use a for loop is I would actually do for I in, and I'm going to put a bunch of host names of servers. I'm going to say do, and then I'm going to put a bunch of things I want to do to these servers. What it's going to do is it's going to do, okay, on the first server, it's going to do all of this stuff, and then it's going to go to that next server and do all the same thing, etc., for however many host names or IP addresses I put here. That's typically how you're going to use a for loop, and that's why it's super useful.